this series of videos, I want to be very meticulous. So I hope you'll be patient with me, and as I go along, you'll find this interesting. Thanks again. I'm going to start working on all of the details to do everything along there, then as well as everything to do underneath. The approach I took was to create a map of this. I started out by taking pictures from above so that I could then compare it to my references, look at my reference and see kind of where stuff was, and then try to mark it on here. And I have my bottom references and kind of taken the same approach, and then the actual plane again along the bottom. So what I'm going to try to do is every night this week try to get one thing done, or a set of things done. Catching up on Glenn's instructions. So these pieces that are going to go on the bottom as well, landing gear doors. Here he talks about all the things that have to happen on the top. I have to make those to go on those tops on the engines. And then the pitot tubes here, which go on the top on mine. So that kind of catches me up. I've been collecting a lot of the stuff to do that. And you'll recall I cut these pieces off. Now these are a little short. I think I'll put like just a layer of sheet styrene under there, trace around it, cut that out to raise them up because they are a little small. Okay, those are what I came up with. I just set them on there, and that's that light, which needs to be cleaned up a little bit. Started with thicker styrene stock, cut that to size and glued those on there. Came back later, realized they were still a little too short, and added another layer of the thinner styrene stock. And then this one actually is going to go where that light is. And that's the reason I have this circled, is because later in the notes I'll say, cut this off carefully and move it back. But I did take it off the other one, so I have it intact. For these pieces that hold the wire, I found these and I like them because I think these are pretty close to the right size. So I think I can shape those. I've already scribed that. This is like a little handle here, which I will probably make out of some wire. After a lot of experimentation, I finally settled on this wire, and checking my references, it is a little thicker. So basically what I did is just cut some cardstock into a rectangle, put some rivets on it, bent that wire, and then drilled 2 holes and kind of stuck it down in there and glued it. On here, the handle for this hatch is actually up above it. While on this hatch, the handle is actually on the hatch. This is a little light, for which I have that piece right there. These are just the landing spot for the rods that hold the wing, so I probably won't even scribe those. So that's really it for the top. And then on the bottom, for that one there beside the landing gear, I've made this one here. This I have to scratch build. I found an appropriate piece, cut it out, put some rivets on it, and then test placed it. This light, this is this light that I took off the other piece. Here is the tail hook that I have to fix. It just wasn't long enough, so I fashioned a new one. These are 2 amber lights similar to this one up here, and I'm thinking 2 of these. These are supposed to be ovals and they're circles, so I'm gonna sand those over on each side and try to make them into ovals. Then this thing has to get scratch built. I started with this piece, the front here, and then if you see these, I just cut one of those off right up there and popped that in there, and then smoothed it down on both sides and then curved it over. And yeah, I think that's gonna work. It's close enough for me. I've worked this back seam. Doggone it. Still has a divot in there. Shit. I filled those seams again with medium and ultra thin super glue and buffed those out. Having got these seams clean and the way I like them now, I want to go back and do any final panel lines. It needs one down the center here, slightly offset, and comes back. One on each engine nacelle there, and then this other hatch. And then I may go back and just clean up and reopen some of the ones that are like doors and hatches to stand out, and the ones that are just panel lines to be more faint. As I try to figure out where this hatch should go, one of the references is this warning decal. I also added it onto my drawings to help me gauge where things should go. So what I did is actually made it out of tape, and that's going to help me judge which one I should use there. I did scribe these lines here. So now I want to get that hatch, and that's, I think, the last thing I have to scribe. You may remember in the last video I said, oh, it's okay if that sits up off there. Well, I actually cut some slivers and just put them in there. There it is after initial sanding, and I think it came out pretty good. These are, and I'll pop up a reference, these loops that go up here. I toyed around with a couple of different things, and I decided to go with the 0.05 millimeter styrene rod. I have a portable heater, just held it near that, and it curled. And then just kind of got the two curls to where I wanted them. So from the top, it should kind of look like a circle or an oval. So imagining that was the rudder, I think that'll look good. To do this tail, you can see it kind of pops out and it has a little protrusion on each side. So I again hit the spares box and I found these pieces and then kind of, sanded them down to try to get them, wafer thin. And now I'm going to place those on each side of the rudder down here. And then, so that'll give me like a bump out and then a flat surface to put two lights on. The other thing on the tails is where the wires connect. So there's one below the rear wing and then two on the rear rudder. And basically what they are is just pretty much just triangles sticking out from the surface, and then the end with the wide end, against the surface. I crafted these pieces, and basically they're trapezoids, not really triangles, and those will hold the wires that then will go down to the fuselage surface. And then if you see that piece there, you can also see a hint of it there, just above my thumb on the fuselage, and you can see them on the engine nacelles going down to that flap. The one on this side got totally obliterated, and I'm going to take that one down a little bit, and then I cut these to replace those. So I'm going to do that now as well. Okay, there we go. Got that one there, and that one there. There's that drip edge. You can see it goes all the way to that other piece, and then back just to where the door ends. That I made with the styrene rod. Now I'll probably, that's, sticking up a little high. I'll probably take that down once that all dries. I'm helping Glenn on these instructions, and he has these painting guides. Well, obviously for my C-1A trader, this is not correct. Again, looking at this and saying, okay, this is what it looks like. Before I put all the stuff on, according to these maps, I want to make sure everything's going to line up, even when I go to paint it. So I went ahead and scanned in his drawings and then worked on those to make them this C-1A trader. So this is going to inform, my final precise placement. And I did the same thing on the bottom. Again, checked everything back to my references, and I've got these scaled to 1:72 as well. So these will inform my final placement, not only of the parts, but then the parts within the paint scheme, if you will. And then he has in here these wings, and the tips of these wings are incorrect. I went out to my war paint book and brought in those tips and put them on here, and then just redid some of the lines in here and did some cleanup for them. So this is now will inform what the paint scheme for the wings will be as well. So with everything ready to go, I've listed everything out in the order everything should be done in. What I'll do is actually do the bottom first, because then, it sits on the landing gear. Once that's done, it can still set on there, and I can work on the top without disturbing anything on the bottom. The order I'll do this in then is mask that cockpit first and foremost, because that'll be kind of my starting point. I can work back, place this prop warning piece of tape. That's going to tell me how far back everything else is on the bottom from front to back. And I have all the pieces ready to go on that. So that forward antenna next to the landing gear. Number 2, attach this piece next to the circle. Number 3, attach that piece that I scratch built. Number 4, that other center piece that I scratch built goes there. Number 5, the light. For the amber lights, again, I think I'm just going to drill the holes because those have pegs. I may just drill the holes. It's going to be easier to come back later and put those in. Number 7, the tail hook, debating whether to do it now or later before I decal. We'll see. And then the rear wheel part. So this part that goes in with the rear wheel, put that in place. I typically don't put the landing gear in ahead of time. Typically I leave this off and paint it separate, but because I want to stand it up, I think it makes sense to put it in now. And as I look at it, I'm pretty sure I can get in there with my airbrush. So I'm going to put this landing gear in now. So that's the bottom done, everything on that list. And there you see everything on the bottom. And then I drilled the holes for the amber lights, which I'll put on later, and I'll put that tail hook on later, so they're in there waiting. As I had this upside down and I looked inside here and then looked inside these, you know, I did that work to make those kind of look nice in there, and then you look at that and it kind of looks crummy. So what I did is I created a couple of panels to put in there to cover that divot and nastiness in there. So I'll just glue those in. For the top, I actually made 2 of these, and I'm going to cut this walkway out on one of them and lay it on there just to give me a final zeroing in on where stuff should be. Locate that forward wire pole, drill the hole. Again, I'm not going to put it in, but I do want to drill the hole to know where that's going to go. Then locate and place that light. Once that light is good, then I can do that hump. Locate the rear hump, place that. Locate that rear light, place that. Locate this top handle and place that. Locate the rear wire pole, so that's over here, drill that hole. Locate the forward and rear lead points. So there's wires that come down to, I believe it's from back here, that come to this point. I'm going to drill a hole there, and then when the time comes, I'm just going to put the wire into that hole with some super glue, and it's going to come right out of the hole back to here. Locate and place the engine cards. These need to go on the innermost exhaust. Locate the hatch handles and place those. Add on these rings to the back. And that will do it for the top. Here's the finished product, and starting with the bottom there. Just looking. I think that looks pretty good. I think that piece that I scratch built, I'm pretty happy with the way that came out. And then there's that drip edge in the doors. I still have to make those lights for the tail, but I'm happy with the way this piece came out here. So that's the bottom, and on the top, and then on the tail, that antenna, the hatch, and the handle there on the side. There's that engine card, and the handle, that other light, the handle, the other hump, and then the handle on that back hatch. So that completes everything that I wanted to get done as far as all the detail is concerned. And now that I have everything on there, the windows masked, and these painting instructions that I put together, I think I'm in the home stretch now, and I can start laying down paint next time. Until then, thanks for watching and happy modeling.